Anyway, I mentioned Kieran, who's actually a pilot with Aer Lingus. He joins me by phone. Kieran, good morning.
Yeah, how you doing, Neil?
When was the last time you actually flew a plane, Kieran?
The last time I flew a plane was the 21st of December.
And where was that? Is it an Airbus or what do you fly?
Yeah, it's an Airbus. And I flew into London and back. And since then, I haven't flown an actual airplane. I've been in the simulator all right, but haven't actually flown an airplane since then.
But how do you keep your numbers up or your hours up to keep your licence?
Well, it's all about keeping recency. So by going to the simulator, we go into the simulator twice a year for 2 days. And the exercises that we do in the simulator will keep us current for 90 days. Okay, so at least that's kept live and valid, as the fellow says. But yeah, we're kept legal to fly, essentially.
So for pilots that aren't flying like you, and there's many of them, have they had to pick up another job somewhere?
Yes, many have. Many have. I mean, people like me. It's not just pilots; it's everybody in the aviation industry. You know, we've all lost a lot of our income, or even our jobs completely.
There won't be a job to go back to. Why? Because you figure there won't be as much demand for flying, or what?
Well, this is the reason that I'm actually on, is to speak about the state of Irish aviation and the lack of support that we're getting from the Irish government. And we're now facing into a situation where we're going to a second consecutive summer with no revenue. And you know, can any business survive that? You know, and if we do survive, to what extent? To what, you know, how much connectivity do we lose within that without getting support from the government?
Would you not have been furloughed by Aer Lingus, where they could have topped up the state payment, for instance? No.
Well, we're on 50% of our working roster and 50% of our basic salary. That's the way it is now, and we're very, very, very lucky to even have that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
There are friends of mine, pilots and cabin crew, who have been furloughed. There are friends of mine who have lost their jobs, who have been kind of, you know, been promised of a job with one airline and had handed in their notice with their current airline, and in between that, the job that they were going to wasn't there for them, and when they turned back to go back to their old job, it wasn't there. So now we have highly skilled pilots, captains and first officers with no job.
You also make a point that Aer Lingus itself is losing something in the region of $1 million a day. Why should we care about that? That's a private company. Surely they've got a huge bank balance that they could supplement it with.
Yes, but well, at the end of the day, it's a business, and my point here is it's about connectivity to this island, and particularly being a Cork man to Cork and Cork Airport. You know, at the moment, Aer Lingus is the only airline operating in and out of Cork Airport commercially, and I guess at a cost to the airline. But there is, I suppose there's a lot of history on this island with Aer Lingus. You know, Aer Lingus have been connecting this island for nearly 85 years.
Yeah,
and a lot of other airlines, we all know who they are, have packed up their bags, have left their staff furloughed, and have just left. And my point here is the offset of all that is, what about all the businesses in Cork? What about all the tourism in Cork?
True.
How are we going to recover from this? You know, it's all. I support all the health measures being in place, and many of us do. But the government can't put Gardaí at the airport to find people or possibly jail them, that they're telling us, and not turn around to the industry and support them sufficiently. You know, it's like me saying, you know, I'm going to fine everyone listening to this show this morning, but not support you, Neil. You know, this is what we're campaigning about. Yeah, but
is the campaign to bail out Aer Lingus?
No, the campaign, this isn't about just Aer Lingus. This isn't about just me, Neil. This is about the importance of the aviation industry in Ireland. There's 143,000 jobs at stake here. And the support that the aviation industry in Ireland gives the economy, it's the stepping stone to the economy in Ireland. The connectivity on this island is so important.
And more so Cork, as you say, because we've got pilots and cabin crew and all the ancillary jobs and tourism and hotels and restaurants and the IT sector that we're trying to develop on Lee's side down the key areas in the port.
Correct. This is bigger than Aer Lingus. This is bigger than any one person. This is about everybody in Ireland. This is about hundreds of thousands of jobs. This is about all those people that you hear ringing your show.
Yeah. We have a lot of those people ring regularly, though, to say, why in the name of God do we have to go to Dublin to fly to so many international destinations that aren't covered by Cork? No, I mean, let me finish this point. Right. If anything, Ryanair gave people an awful lot more freedom in the air to go to lots of destinations that Aer Lingus never bothered with.
Yes, you're correct. You're correct. But again, this isn't about Aer Lingus or Ryanair. This is about, I'm on here to speak to you today to get support from the government. Micheál Martin is a Cork man. Simon Coveney is in government. We have connections in government, high up in government. And as a Cork man, I'm concerned for Cork. And I'm here to say we need support. We need substantial support for the Irish aviation industry, and Aer Lingus will be included in that. Yeah. And Ryanair will be included.
Mind you, when you compare the bailout, say, for instance, that the UK gave to airlines and the Germans, it was enormous, wasn't it, to keep them going?
I mean, Ryanair alone got 600 million from the UK government. BA got 300 million. We had an announcement yesterday with Lufthansa, for example. And Swiss, they're going to be flying into Cork, which is great news for the airport and the area. But these two airlines, this is half my point as well. You know, Lufthansa have got 9 billion from their government.
Yeah, but Irish Aviation, you said, got 80 million in support. That's a lot of money.
It is a huge amount of money. But my point is, it's not enough. And that's the dead reality. I mean, take it from an airline's perspective. We have airplanes sitting on the tarmac, and they're sitting on the tarmac doing nothing. They have to be paid parking. The parking space has to be paid for, and there's a rigorous maintenance schedule that has to be paid for in order to just keep them parked and keep them so that we can use them safely. Now, do we want to be left in the back seat when this recovers? We will fly again, and we will recover from this, and the world will get on and go forward.
But do you think that people will fly like they used to do before?
Well, I think eventually, yes, we will. I mean, in the short term, we're going to have, again, here's the mismanagement of the government. We need a roadmap. We need a roadmap to show us how we're going to unwind these restrictions. We need a common testing standard. And we need some sort of digital passport so we can be health screened, so that there's transparency when people travel.
Do you have thoughts as a pilot on the 3,500 a day that are coming in through Dublin Airport, or do you get involved in that discussion?
Well, I'm not going to get involved in that discussion, but I mean, again, this is about the management of the situation by the government initially. You know, if it was managed in the correct manner initially, I mean, it's spilt milk now, Neil, at quarantining, really.
Too late, you think?
I think it is too late. I mean, we live in an island. The virus is here on the island. It's too late for quarantining. What we need to be concentrating on...
Yeah, but the issue is the different strains that will be coming in from different parts of the world, you see, and whether or not the vaccine will be able to handle the strains, you know?
Exactly, yeah. But I mean, this is where the testing and tracing has to come in. I mean, it needs to be up to spec. I mean, Australia and New Zealand did the whole quarantine thing from the beginning, and it has worked out very well. But the way it works out well is their testing and tracing can test and trace cases that come into the country somehow, but they can shut down locally that part of the country. For example, Melbourne or Sydney, and they can then get to a point where they can suppress it really, really quickly. They can shut down for 5 or 10 days.
Yeah, we got an example of that in Melbourne last week with the tennis, where they shut everything down with regards to support spectators for 5 days. When we come out of this, you say, okay, there are 140,000 aviation jobs, and a lot of those are in Cork, and there's all the ancillary businesses that are supported from it. How busy do you think Cork Airport will be?
I mean, I would hope that going into spring next year, we may be back to 50% of what we've seen in 2019. This is going to be a slow recovery. The numbers we saw in 2019 were exceptional. They were one of the best years in aviation. I mean, to say we can get back to that overnight after such a crisis that we're after having. I mean, we haven't even seen economically, we haven't even seen the impact that this crisis has had in this country yet. I mean, all these people are out of work. Long term, what is that going to do to the economy? Even if we do reopen, how long is it going to take to get back to a point where businesses are going to thrive again?
Yeah.
And in order for businesses to thrive again, we need an aviation industry to be functioning. We cannot be left in the back seat.
I've a fellow.
And all these politicians around Cork to help the aviation industry survive, because a second consecutive summer without this is going to be detrimental.
But I'm asking again, what is that help? Are you saying pump money into Aer Lingus, pump more money into Ryanair, coax them back to Cork?
Yes, we need to pump money into the whole entire industry, and I'm talking millions, hundreds of millions. I mean, look back at the banking crisis. There was 2 or 3 nights of deliberations, and they came out and they gave about 150 billion to the bank. We're asking for a fraction of that in order to support the economy to recover from a crisis.
Where have all the cabin crew gone with regards to work? Have they also taken up other jobs?
Yes, they have. Yeah, some of them have. Yeah, and like.
So they may never come back again.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Some of them may never come back again.
Okay.
And again, like I said earlier on, friends of mine that I personally know, they may never fly again.
Okay, hold on there. I have a fellow Aer Lingus pilot of yours. Perhaps you know him. Shane, good morning.
Good morning, Neil. How are you?
Good. How much of that conversation with Kieran did you hear, the first officer?
I heard nearly all of it. Kieran, how are you?
How you going, Shane?
I fly with Kieran, and I have to say he's spoken brilliantly there. He's hit pretty much all the points that I would have made. I texted in just to ask a question. Kieran has really hit on it since. I didn't expect to come on and speak, but I just wanted to support Kieran and everything he's saying, to be quite honest with you. This whole thing is huge for us, for our careers, for our future, for the country.
You see, people, I think that some people might stick in their craw that Aer Lingus was privatised. It was the national airline, then it was privatised. And other people who have their own businesses who are also struggling for the past 12 months also need more financial aid, and we're being asked to pump millions into Aer Lingus, a private company.
Well, I don't disagree with that. I mean, every sector needs it. Sorry, yeah.
Can I just say something there, Neil? I'll say again, this isn't just about Aer Lingus. I'm on here to talk about everybody in the aviation industry. Now, if planes aren't leaving, these people in aviation that work in aviation, not just the pilots and cabin crew, are not working. Everybody, if the planes don't leave the ground, the jobs at the airport and the contractors that come in and the caterers and everyone else, they don't get jobs either. This isn't about just supporting Aer Lingus. This is about supporting 143,000 jobs in Ireland, families, businesses, beautiful restaurants that we have in Cork City and cafes. You could travel all around the world and you could go into Cork City and you will not eat finer food.
Yeah.
We're going to lose these potentially for a very, very long time if we don't get support for the Irish aviation industry from the Government of Ireland. And that includes Micheál Martin, a Cork man.
And Shane, just in your own case, have you also had to take up other work?
I've tried, Neil, but it's difficult to find other work, as you can understand, in the current pandemic. There's so much closed. Yeah. Trying to find something to do is incredibly difficult. I mean, I haven't been successful in that, to be quite honest with you. And I'm in a household where my wife is cabin crew with Aer Lingus.
Right.
So it's a double impact basically on our household at the moment, from the point of view that our salaries are hit so badly. And just to make the point about that Kieran was making there about the 143,000 jobs, that's not just aviation. I mean, aviation's actually only about 40,000 of that to be directly employed, because along with that, in support of aviation, you have 25,000 jobs support aviation. You have 11,000 jobs, from the point of view of employee spending, shops in local areas where employees work and the like. And you have another 68,000 in the tourism industry, supported by aviation, bringing tourists into
I appreciate all that point has been well made, but still, the choice of flights out of Cork Airport by comparison to Dublin Airport or even Shannon, it leaves a lot to be desired by Aer Lingus, you see, Shane,
I know, I agree. Look,
we still have to travel to Dublin to get to many international destinations.
That is correct, but that is true. But there has been serious development in Cork and the destinations you can reach over the last number of years. And Cork was on an upward trajectory from that point of view. And new routes were being added all the time. So, Cork was being developed and was doing very well. And I would hope to see it recover all that business as time goes on. But without investment in the aviation sector, the size of the aviation sector to take that on won't be there immediately after this crisis.
Okay, just one final point actually from Harry, who's another Aer Lingus pilot, captain with Aer Lingus, 21 years now, I believe. Harry, good morning.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, are you all right? Yeah. You can hear me all right? Good stuff. Okay,
I'm actually, all right, lads.
How's it going, Harry?
3 pilots at the one time. Jesus, it's like a bus. They come along in threes. Go on.
No less than
She just came out and asked me. I'm actually going up to do the one flight today. I'm on my way up from Inishannon to operate the flight over to London. And there was one point that you said yourselves, Neil, that it's fixing people's craw, this kind of supporting Aer Lingus thing. But as the lads have been saying, as the point has been made, it's not really about Aer Lingus. It's more about how this country recovers once the crisis is over. And at the moment, like Leo has come out there last week saying that Aer Lingus won't fail or whatever like that. But there's no great plan. There's no structure to how we get ourselves out of this situation. Boris Johnson came on during the week and he said, 21st of June, he set a date and immediately you saw bookings over in the UK. Where in Ireland, we're nothing. There's no kind of plan.
But he can set a date because they're light years ahead of us with the rollout of the vaccine. So you have to be careful about giving people dates.
I understand that, but this is something, like aviation is not something that you can just pick up, say, he tells you, next month will be okay. You need more leading than that. You need some sort of a concrete plan so that when the time comes, we'll be ready. The bookings will have come in. There's a big lead-in period for us. So we need a bit more structure to how they're coming out of this thing,
Well, good luck with all of that. If Cork Airport have said, sorry lads, we're closing the runway and it may not open in 2021 at all, we need to resurface it. I mean, how frustrating is that?
It's very frustrating. I mean, that's like, some of the roads around the place where, it's in the middle of the school period, they start doing the roads, I don't know. I'm not too sure exactly what they're doing with the runway, when they're actually going to get around to doing it. Hopefully they'll get it done before the summer, but I don't know, to be honest. And
let me just ask you finally, that flight that you're flying today, that's an Aer Lingus flight, is it? Cork Heathrow? Tell me about that, Harry.
We're doing this at the moment. It's I think it's 3 times a week. That has my birthday is Monday, Friday, and Sunday. That's it. I haven't flown since, Kieran, the last flight I did was to London on the 27th of December. And I'm just kind of, if I hit this one and I have another one in maybe 2 weeks' time, I'll maintain my currency, my recency, so that I can continue flying. And that's basically what.
Will there be many on board that flight, do you think?
Well, usually with the bookings say one thing, and then when you go to the flight, a lot of people might have pulled out. Now, since I haven't done one for the last 2 months, I'm not too sure how this one is going to react. At the moment, it looks like it's going to be about half full. But by the time I get there, that might be down to, I don't know, a third or maybe a quarter, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and the fact that you haven't flown it since December, you haven't forgotten how to fly it or anything, no?
I hope not. I found my tie, so I should be okay.
You found your tie and your tie pin. All right, guys, listen, thanks for all of you catching up. I do appreciate you all taking the calls and undoubtedly get some responses from members of the public. But Harry, Shane and Kieran, pilots at Aer Lingus, thanks for talking to me. Cheers, appreciate it.
Thanks, Neil.
Take care. Back after the break on 1850 104 106. And safe flying to Harry. Safe flying to Harry.